I'm back with another spooky story. If you're a fan of crazy, spooky Ouija board stories, this one's for you. The person who submitted this to me does want to remain anonymous, so I'm just going to get right into the story that they submitted because this one is super scary. My sister and I were 13 and 15 when we got a Ouija board for Christmas. Our favorite uncle, who was a bit eccentric and loved giving weird gifts and telling strange stories, was the person who bought it for us. My mom wasn't too thrilled about it, but my uncle thought it was funny and said it, quote, fit our personalities. The first few nights after Christmas, we used it constantly. We spent half of the time pretending we were witches in the movie, and the rest of the time just asking it questions. We even made up voices pretending to be spirits and laughed every time one of us made the planchette move. After a few weeks, the novelty kind of wore off and we stopped playing with the board. At this point, nothing weird had happened, so we just left the board in my sister's closet. It wasn't until a couple of months later that we decided to mess with it again. It was a Friday night and we were home alone because our parents were gone visiting my aunt. We had just gotten done watching a scary movie and wanted to keep the spooky vibes going. So we decided to pull out the Ouija board again. My sister said that she'd been doing some research, and apparently we'd been doing it the wrong way. We had just been following the instructions that came with the box. But apparently, if you really wanted to summon spirits, you had to do it a certain way. So we turned off the lights, lit some candles, sat cross-legged on the living room floor on either side of the board, and began. We placed our fingers on the planchette and my sister asked the same question that we always did. Is there anyone here who wants to talk to us? Nothing happened. Hello, is there a spirit here who wants to talk to us? We welcome you to communicate. Again, nothing happened. My sister closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and started asking more questions, pausing between each one to give the potential spirit an opportunity to respond. After several questions, my sister was obviously annoyed because instead of asking another question, she just said, quote, I guess you're a coward, and laughed. She took her hands off the planchette and said she's done playing and would rather just watch another scary movie. So we folded the board up and left it on the coffee table while we were deciding on another movie to watch. Suddenly, we heard a thud in the living room. We both went completely still and looked around, but of course, we saw nothing. We still had the candles lit, but we did notice that one of the candle's flames was out. We decided to reopen the board just in case there was a spirit in the room that wanted to communicate with us now. We placed our hands on the planchette and my sister asked again, is there anyone here who wants to talk to us? For the first time, the planchette moved, but only slightly. We were arguing about which one of us moved it because we didn't believe that it really moved on its own. But then it moved again. This time, it felt heavy, which was very different from how a planchette normally glides across the board. We watched it move over to the letters I, S, E, E, Y, O-U. We screamed and pushed the board away from us. We were so scared that all we could do was stare at each other for a minute until I got up to go turn on the lights. As I was walking to the light switch, I noticed a flicker of movement to my left, but when I turned, I saw nothing but darkness. Did you see that? I whispered. What? I thought I saw something over there. I flicked on the lights and of course, nothing. We blew out the candles and tried to laugh it off, assuming we were both just spooked from watching scary movies. We packed the board up and put it away, but we both kind of knew deep down that something wasn't right. Our parents got home a couple of hours later, which was a huge relief because neither one of us could sleep until they got back. 2 nights later, my sister ran into my room and woke me up. Her face was pale and she was shaking. Someone whispered my name right next to my ear, she said. I sat up, heart racing. Before I could say anything, we both heard it. A dragging, followed by a dropping sound coming from my dresser. My sister ran over to the light and turned it on to see what it was. It was a beaded bracelet that I had placed on my dresser before going to bed, but now it was on the floor. We were so scared that we ran into our parents' room and slept with them for the rest of the night. The next day, we told our mom what happened, but she just thought we were crazy and banned us from watching any more scary movies. Not knowing what else to do, my sister and I threw the Ouija board into our neighbor's dumpster, hoping that it would just stop whatever was going on. For a while, that seemed to work. We didn't hear or see anything until about 3 weeks later. Everyone in the house was asleep when I heard my sister screaming at the top of her lungs. I ran out of my room into hers, but my parents were already there. My mom was trying to console her, but my sister just kept screaming. Her eyes were wide open and tears were streaming down her face. After a couple of hours, she'd basically lost her voice and couldn't scream anymore. So she mostly just calmed down and was only crying softly. My mom finally got her to tell us what happened. She told us that she saw all three of us walk into her room and without saying a word, float into the air and snap our necks to the side. She said she kept trying to scream for a long time before she finally could, and that it almost felt like a dream, but it was so realistic that she really thought it happened. Again, my parents blamed the scary movies we watch and banned them from the house. My sister continued having those dreams on and off for about a year until she finally left to go live with our grandparents and refused to ever come back to our house. Once she turned 18, she moved across the country and doesn't really keep in touch aside from the occasional birthday or holiday message. I tried to talk to her about what we experienced multiple times, but she refused to ever speak about it. So I don't even know if she's still having those experiences.